Welcome, Ms. Charu. So, on behalf of the Department of Food and Nutrition, I welcome all the participants, faculty, and our former colleagues, if they're there, to the webinar on role of quality indicators to improve nutrition care process. I welcome our speaker for the day, Ms. Charu Dua, Chief Consultant Nutritionist at Max Healthcare, Vaishali, Parparganj, Noida. She is NABH Assessor, Quality Council India, and Ms. Charu is also an alumna of the Department of Food and Nutrition, Lady Irwin College, and has very kindly agreed to share her expertise with her alma mater and the students and faculty of the Department of Food and Nutrition. Thank you for taking the time out from your busy schedule. And I now hand over to Ms. Anjana to introduce Ms. Charu.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Role of Quality Indicators to Improve Nutrition Care Process. I am pleased to introduce today's speaker, Ms. Charu Dua. She is the Chief Consultant Nutritionist at Max Healthcare, Papadganj, Noida. She has 23 plus years working experience as clinical dietitian. She has written a book on food and nutrition for CBSE vocational course, written first clinical nutrition SOP for Delhi NCR. Under her leadership, Department of Clinical Nutrition and F&B department was awarded to be Best Department PanMax for 3 consecutive years from 2016 to 2019. She has awarded Green Belt Six Sigma Award for a project on efficiency of patient care and satisfaction. Awarded Best Facilitator for 5S execution across network of PCH. Awarded Platinum Women Award by Alma Mater.
Thank you. There is a hospital
Somebody's mic is on. Kindly.
Yeah, there is a hospital announcement that is going on in my hospital. Okay. So it will just mute. There's a central announcement that is happening.
Okay. Thank you, Charu. Thank you. Okay. So she has awarded Platinum Women Award by Alma Mater. She has trained more than 500 students, both nutrition and F&B, under her guidance, under her leadership. Regularly featured in various magazines, newspaper, radio, TV channels. She's a life member of IDA, IAPN, IFSO, NSI, ADE. Before I hand the mic over to Ms. Charu Dua, there are general instructions for all the participants. Your active participation is important throughout the session. However, this is my humble request to all participants to kindly turn off your video and mic during presentation to avoid background noise that may distract us from listening to the. If you have any question or comments, write them to the chat box. We'll try and address all of them after the webinar. Feedback form link will be posted in the chat box at the end of the webinar to generate e-certificate. Kindly fill your name and email address correctly because this information will be used to creating an e-certificate. Without any further ado, I request Charu Dua to present on a topic, role of quality indicators to improve nutrition care process. Over to you, Charu.
Thank you, Anjana, for such a warm welcome. And at the outset, to begin, I would like to thank our dear director, Dr. Anupa Sidhu ma'am, Dr. Manisha Sabarwal, and the organizing committee of this session today. Wishes from my side on the Nutrition Month to all of you. I know there have been a lot of webinars that has been happening in this pandemic. And today also we are clashing with Apollo Conference webinar happening. So when we were discussing to take up a topic with Anjana, what I thought was rather than taking purely a clinical topic, let's think out of the box and bring in a topic which my experience had made me enriched and has bagged certain laurels to me. So hence the topic selection happened, and which was a little out of the box because a lot of webinars on clinical things is happening and most of the people are attending to it. So today it is my attempt to talk to you about quality, which I am definitely not a master, but yes, I have acquired the skill and I am an auditor of NABH, and I shall be telling you how did I use that knowledge into my clinical practice to improve the care and to make the department processes robust. So that's what my presentation is going to be talking. It is always good when you come back to your alma mater because your roots lie there, your foundation lie there, and that is where what we are is because of our alma mater. So thank you, Lady Irwin College, for making us the special nutritionist in Delhi NCR. So moving on to the topic directly. So let's talk first about healthcare and then relate quality to healthcare. So what works in healthcare for all of us? Healthcare which has a good infrastructure, which optimizes the experience of the patient and correlates it with clinical outcomes, including the financial, affordability aspect and patient satisfaction and staff satisfaction aspect, and which reduces the disease burden combined with quality assurance. This is what works for us when we talk about healthcare. If healthcare becomes like this, we all shall be having no complaints and we all will be happy. And yes, this can happen when quality takes a role in healthcare. So the quest of healthcare, why? There are healthcare organizations worldwide across the globe who are needing to evaluate and demonstrate the quality of what they are doing in the desire of recognition. Different countries are making different choices about which process best suits their need, and newer models and innovations are driving improvements. When it comes to quality in healthcare, quality is a term which comes from manufacturing industry basically. So where you have machines where you make a process and the outcome is quality. But in healthcare, because healthcare model is a complex model, because you cannot make it 100% automated, you need to have a human touch. So there is a quest and deliberations of quality when it comes to the gurus and it comes to the management. Yes, the drivers of quality in India is we are seeing that the customer expectation has been rising. When I started my career in 1999 and 2000, we saw the expectation of customer for our healthcare was only a clinical outcome. But now the customer, other than the clinical outcome, requires the paramedic outcome, requires the nursing care, requires the support service care. The patient wants it all. The Consumer Protection Act awareness is increasing. There is definitely a competition amongst the healthcare. Insurance companies are coming in, and then there are regulations which are given by the government of a country. So this is where the need of quality is arising. And yes, to this new approach, the meaningful outcome can come because this empowers the patients, doctors, nurses, staffs, allied medicine services to take their decisions about their own domain, which improves the clinical, financial, and customer satisfaction. And definitely with innovative approaches of quality, accessibility and affordability is in place, which is definitely ushering under the local leadership currently in India. Thank God we don't have international players because local people understand more quality because they are from the land themselves. So what is quality? There is varied definitions of quality that is available when you Google it, when you find it out. So what did WHO give the definition of quality? The proper performance according to the standards, and standards are set by you, of interventions known to be safe, affordable, and have the ability to produce an impact on mortality, morbidity, disability, and malnutrition. Thankfully, nutrition word is existing in quality. And that's where the key that I started looking into it. When WHO talks about malnutrition in quality definition, there is a lot of meat for us to work around and play around. Yes, what did quality gurus give us? They have given us a PDCA method, which I shall be talking in the further slides. They say quality is uniformity and should be dependable. These are the few comments that the quality gurus have been talking about. They have given us Pareto principles, which I shall be talking in further slides. So why quality? So a quality can be different from a different perspective. So quality for me would not be the same quality for you. There is a difference in expectations, perceiving how we perceive quality and what actually is being given. But yes, quality is bringing uniformity in a process. So when it comes to nutrition, so when a dietitian meets a patient in IPD, is it uniform? The answer is no. If you do not think about uniformity in the process, I may have a different style and the other dietitian may have a different style. A patient would like my style and B patient would like the style of another dietitian. But what we need to bring in is uniformity in the process, so that whatever the experience the patient has the same experience when an ex-dietitian of Y experience meets a patient and an ex-dietitian Y dietitian of a little experience meets a patient. So you need to bring in uniformity in a process to deliver quality to a patient when it comes to nutrition. And when you start doing this, the clinical parameters in nutrition care starts coming into place. Quality is needed because definitely certification, awards, accreditation brings in more trust of a consumer towards you. Definitely, quality brings in standards, it reduces error, it reduces waste, and it reduces the cost. Quality is doing the thing right first time and every time. So these are few thoughts that why quality is needed. And when it comes to healthcare, as I told you, it is a complex model. And it is an individual approach and has a lot of manual approach. Hence, standardization, cultural challenges also foresee a lot of challenges in a healthcare system. It is not like a manufacturing company. There is a different competing power structure. A doctor would have a different way of working. A B doctor would have a different way of working, as I explained you in terms of the nutritionist also. So building the capacity to manage these complexity is the challenges that a healthcare system poses currently. So what is there in a practice and what is the optimal practice? There is a huge gap. And this gap can be bridged by quality improvement. And when we start measuring quality, yes, anything which is measured and you can document it is something which is called as a quality indicator. So if you are assessing a patient, but if you can make it into measurable aspect, so when you are assessing a patient, the measurable aspect can be, you will assess a patient when a patient gets admitted into the hospital is a quality parameter, but it carries no meaning, because you definitely, when a patient comes to healthcare, you are bound to assess, which is a basic requirement. But when you put a measure tool to it, for example, you will assess a patient within 1 hour or within 24 hours of an admission. A dietitian would meet a patient who is admitted into a ward within 1 hour of admission, is making my quality indicator measurable. And when you put these measures, and when the patient sees that he is not waiting for a dietitian to come and meet after the doctor or after the nurse, the dietitian is proactive, the patient relation, the patient respect towards a dietitian starts increasing, and which which indirectly poses a benefit in the clinical care, because the trust of the clinicians working with you is also improved. And when they see that the measurable aspects are documented and presented well in the community, within the group, the trust factor increases, and the integrated approach of a multidisciplinary team is important. And we should know what we do not measure, we don't know, and we can only improve what we know. Right? So we use measurable indicators in quality. That is very, very important. So whenever we define a quality indicator, it has to have a measure. We need to make comparisons of the benchmarking. Unfortunately, when I started this journey of quality in year 2001, we didn't have any benchmarking comparison in India available when it came to nutrition department, that how do we benchmark what is considered to be good. So we started building our own thing, and then the benchmarking, as the hospitals of Max Healthcare kept growing, the benchmarking across the hospital started happening to support accountability, regulation, and accreditation. When you measure quality, definitely accreditation becomes easy, and accreditation comes up with flying colors to identifying opportunity for improvement and to provide the ways to measure improvements, right? So what is quality management all about? It is about higher quality, which features fewer defects and helps meeting customer needs. What does total quality management encompasses? It talks about continuous improvement, it talks about leadership development, and it talks about partnership development. It can be a intra-department partnership, it can be a patient dietitian partnership, it can be a multidisciplinary nurse dietitian partnership, it talks about doctor dietitian partnership. So this is total quality management focus. And the focus of the total quality management center is the customer. And if the customer is happy with the cultural alignment of the organization, using the technical tools like processes, analysis, SIPOC methods, this is what the complete total quality management talks about. So while developing the quality specification, what is important first is to write your process, because unless and until you have written your processes well, you will not be able to measure any quality indicator. So the process is written on the model, which is called as SIPOC. So SIPOC, I, P, and O stands for the input. Input of a process is given by a supplier. Then there are some steps in the process that happens, and then there is an output. When you design an output, you need to take care that output, whenever you are designing, in your mind, customer is there. Put yourself in the customer's shoes and think that had you been the customer, what would you expect from this process to happen? So that will help you define and measure the output from the customer's eye, which is very, very important. And adding the quality tools in the design and adding quality indicators at every step level is building the quality blocks. So at input level also, there can be quality indicators. At process level also, there are quality indicators. And at output level also, there are quality indicators. Because if you do not set the quality indicators at each level, output will never be the way you want to happen. You need to develop controls. Quality indicators help you develop controls at each step of your process. For example, if your input is wrong, I'll give you an example when it comes to the nutrition. In a healthcare system, the input to the dietitian is a doctor and is a nurse. If the doctor has not written the information properly in the patient file, how will the nurse translate the same and give that input to a dietitian or to the food and beverage department? If the NPO orders are not well written, how will the input transfer into a process? If the So when we talk about total quality, I'm sorry for, and I regret the technical glitches that has happened for the first time with me. But anyways, let's come back to the topic. So when it comes to total quality management, customer is the focus. And what you need to do is you need to culturally align the customer expectation with your organization expectation, where you should have continuous improvement plan, leadership development plan, and partnership development plan, which can be intra-department, doctor dietitian development plan, nurse dietitian development plan, F&B dietitian development plan. And you have technical tools and make your process, which you analyze time to time and improve the quality. So when you design a process, what you need to do is you need to design it on the basis of a model called SIPOC. So in SIPOC, IPO stands for input, process, and output. So while you are making an input, there is a supplier for an input. Now, for example, there is a process which is called inpatient meal management process. So to provide meals to a patient in the healthcare IPD sector, you need a dietitian, you need an F&B person, you need a doctor, you need a nurse. But who would be the supplier? The supplier of the input will become a doctor or a nurse. The doctor would assess the patient and inform the dietitian or the nurse what diet to be started with the patient: liquid diet, soft diet, normal diet. Yeah, so this is what you will be having when it comes to your input, right? So there is a supplier who will be giving you an input. Then there are certain steps to achieve that process and which will lead into an output. When you are designing an output, you need to take care that your output quality indicator is customer focus, and in healthcare it is patient focus, where your patient is the focus. Wherever you are making a quality indicator, it should be measurable depending upon customer's eye. So you have to put yourself in the customer's shoes and design your quality indicator. So each quality indicator has to come. So at every process level, you need to have a quality indicator. So at input level, at process level, or at output level. If we do not design the quality indicators at different level, the output would not be achieved. So it is to write a process is really difficult. But when it comes to nutrition care process, we know it is a vicious circle of assessment, diagnosis, intervention, monitoring, and evaluation. And it is a circle which continuously goes on. After monitoring and evaluation, we need to do a reassessment, then re-diagnosis, which keeps on changing on a day-to-day basis. And if you write the processes well, like I may interpret this circle in an X manner, but my dietitian and my team would interpret the circle in a Z manner. So it is very important to write this process in a proper manner, that the entire team in the hospital is able to deliver the same thing to the customer. And hence, when the patient sees there is systematic approach towards care, quality, and his trust towards your organization and in trust towards the dietitian improves, and so does the trust of the clinician improves to the dietitian. We know malnutrition in healthcare. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Somebody's mic is turned on. Can I request Suman Dua to please mute your mic? There is lots of background noise. Suman Dua. Can I request Suman Dua to please mute your mic? Suman Dua, please mute your mic. Thank you so much. Charu, you can continue. I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
So when it comes to malnutrition in healthcare, we know undernutrition increases the length of stay of the patient, which directly or indirectly impacts the cost and also delays the progression and the improvement and the clinical outcomes. And there are surveys which are available in meta-analysis, in review analysis, that early nutrition intervention has shown to reduce the length of stay, reduce the cost, and improve the clinical outcome of the patient. So this is a statement, but this statement would be measurable when you say early nutrition means what? Within 24 hours, within 48 hours, or within 72 hours. So you need to put a measure to every word that you are doing, and then start measuring it and start documenting it and start analyzing it. So for example, you desire that early nutrition should be started to all the patients who come in the hospital within 24 hours. But is that practically possible? No. Sometimes the patient is not stable hemodynamically. Sometimes there is an issue that there is a procedure, so he has to be NPO for a long hours because of the medical condition. Sometimes the doctor has not met, sometimes the nurse has not given you the right kind of information at the right time, so there is a delay in starting the nutrition of the patient. So when you start putting a measure and you start documenting it, you will see when you begin this journey, when we began, out of 10 times, only 5 times we were able to meet the expectation, and rest 50% of the time we were not able to achieve what we were claiming. And that's where the analysis journey started, that's where the documentation journey started, and that's where the audit journey started, where starting measuring the things is what we started. We know that malnutrition in hospitalized patient is compromised because of number of factors, because of failure to detect poor nutrition recording about the patient nutritional status. There is a poor referral system. There are multiple number of reasons we know, but this is something that we know. But if we start documenting it and start presenting it to the management and to the doctor, the trust of the doctor starts coming in towards a dietitian, that she is here for business and she is here for clinical care and not just providing a food to the patient. When you start talking to the doctors in a measurable form, the trust of the doctors towards the dietitian and then on the management keeps on increasing. So hospital malnutrition quality indicators, definitely with the chronic disease burden, nutrition care quality is really important. So what is important? You can't deliver good quality of food till the time you map up and you make a team approach. So you have one is a dietitian who is planning, who is counseling, but then there is a food service management who is providing, who is converting your prescription into deliverables. So when they integrate with you, then and only then malnutrition status of the patient would reduce. The dietitian may say that I am sending you an aloo pulav to eat to a cirrhotic patient. It happened with one of my family members and one of the leading healthcare. So this patient was a cirrhosis patient, anorexic, not eating anything, not even 500 calories. And the dietitian one day came and told that I will be sending you an aloo pulav because that's bland and you're not liking the spices. The patient was really looking for an aloo pulav. And what came to the plate was boiled aloo with boiled chawal mixed together. And that was not even appetizing and the patient did not eat. So integrating food service management to give benefits and nutrition quality care becomes important. Integrating with nurses, integrating with doctors. Nurses would tell you about the procedures, about the surgeries, so that whenever there is a miss of calories and proteins that is happening during that procedure, NPO time, a dietitian can plan the nutrition going to the patient at the hours where the procedure is not there. So the doctors have to be satisfied with what the work is happening clinically. The doctor is here to take care of the sugars of the patient, and the dietitian is sending 2000 calories. Is there a synchronization that is happening? So having a team approach becomes very, very important. And the nutrition care process from just a 4-step process becomes a complex, big process, and it is just seen it as a tip of an iceberg, but we know there is a lot of meat below. So the center circle in this thing talks about relationship, interdepartment and intra-department relationship. The outer circle talks about focusing on the knowledge of the dietitian, the competency skills, the competency package, and the outer circle is the environmental circle, talking about the healthcare system, economics, practice settings, etc. So quality is always a learning curve. If you always do what you have done, you will always get what you have always got. So measurable quality indicator should be individual specific, department specific, and hospital specific. When it comes to hospital specific, I've given few examples in terms of nutrition. The management would talk on cost, management would talk on satisfaction, management would talk on infection. That's the management eye, because they are into business. But when it comes to department specific, it is about clinical satisfaction, it is about nutrition assessment, it is about disease specific care indicators, it is about enteral feed compliance. This will not be achieved if you do not define quality indicators to each and every individual member of your team. If your team is not there with you, department specific goals would not be achieved, and if department specific goals are not achieved, hospital specific goals will definitely not be achieved. So how do we improve quality in healthcare nutrition? Definitely by traditional ways, definitely by quality assurance and a collaborative approach. So we did define the SIPOC, we defined the quality indicators, and this journey of mine started way back in 2001, where we defined the process first. So in 2000, the journey started of defining the process when I was in Panchsheel. Though this process is of Padparganj, but this was also done in Panchsheel based on the ISO model, where if you see, you have a input on your screen where you talk about input given by the nurse, then there are certain steps in the process, and then you have an output measure of nutrition assessment, meal service time to the patient. And if you see, these are the quality indicators, and each quality indicator is defined. You will do nutrition assessment of 90 to 95% of IPD patients because it is an IPD process. The meal would be served within time, within 30 minutes to patient count of 250. And if there is a patient count above 250, you will serve it within 45 minutes. Patient satisfaction score would be 86%, and you will have less than 2 complaints written per day per 1,000 meal service, and the discharge counseling to the patient would be 90%. So this is where you have put a measure to your quality indicator, and when you start measuring it, and when we started our journey, I'll show you what happened. So this is how you do map the process, and once you map the macro process, you need to map the micro process, in where every process step has to have a control measure, have to have an output record, and have to, who is critical, who is the customer, when a nurse is giving information, the customer is a dietitian and an FNB. Sometimes patient is a customer, and why is it critical to quality, and whose responsibility is it, so that whenever there is an error that happens in any step, you can hold people accountable, and you can see why is this not being able to achieve when you start documenting these practices. And then these becomes into quantitative nutrition assessment, where you define from where you will collect the data, what would be your sample size, whose responsibility would be, what is your target, and what would be your scoring criteria. So this is about putting measures to your quality indicators. We also did, when we started the journey, it was a manual process, and we realized that there is a lot of gaps between one dietitian to another. So we developed a tool which is called a patient diet chart, which was like a case file, like you have a medical case file where one doctor, a morning duty doctor and the evening duty doctor, are able to provide continuity in care. This diet card, nutrition diet card, helped us provide the continuity in nutrition care. It also helped the doctors to understand what the dietitian is doing. It also talked about the handover between the dietitian when a patient is shifted from ICU to ward to ICU, what complaints. Sometimes the dietitians would not come one day, you are on leave. So a new dietitian, when meeting a patient, is not completely blank, and this document is telling what the dietitian has done, and she can build up the patient accordingly. Similarly, tools on nutrition assessment was done, where the outcome plan was asked by the dietitian to fill, like what is her nutrition care plan, what is the calorie goal, what is the protein goal that she wants, and then she's taking a recall on a daily basis and talking about what is the calorie intake and protein intake on a daily basis of the patient. For seeing this, the doctors are really happy, and then they know their job is done, so their trust on the nutritionist begins. And when the patient starts talking about diet, they say, okay, I'm not the person to talk about it, please meet such and such dietitian, she will be able to help you. And this is what the journey in our healthcare started improving, and the trust of everybody started coming in. We also found out that there was a different style of each dietitian meeting the patient, and different dietitians coming from different background, we needed to bring them to our working style. So there was some training instructions which were made, and when the dietitians were on board, these were mandatory practices. The trials, the role plays, etc. were done with them, so that they are able to meet the expectations of the management. And there were certain handouts which were also being developed, and then the quality indicators were listed. There are 35 odd quality indicators that we are maintaining. We started with administrative quality indicators, and now we have progressed to 34 clinical indicators across the healthcare, which definitely improves the nutrition care plan. We need to understand that quality improvement is continuous. It is not that once you have achieved it, you will not find errors. After developing this process and documenting, we found a lot of errors happening within our department too. So quality improvement philosophy, it is based on Kaizen's approach of plan, do, check, act, again plan, again do, again check, have your measures in place, and try to benchmarking with the top performers. So the tools we used were process flow chart, run chart, where we were tracking the performance month on month and presenting it to a core committee, where brainstorming was happening, control charts were put in. Then we also did a cause and effect diagram, which I'll show, which I did it in one of the projects that I took, and which helped in getting positive results. Developing a check sheet mechanism. A check sheet mechanism in a simple process, like when you need to give food to the patient. If the food is not hot, you will, no matter how tasty the food is, you will not like to eat it. But to make a food reaching hot and for the patient to eat that food, you need to have checks in your process. And the check starts at whether the dietitian has handed over the proper instruction to F&B in time, whether the F&B has plugged the trolley in time, whether the food tray has been laid as per the standard. So all these checkpoints are done in a process. This is from the F&B point of view. When it comes to the nutrition point of view, whether the dietitian has done the assessment in time, has she taken the diet recall properly? So these are the sheets that can help you assess, audit your process. And these check sheets can be made daily specific or maybe fortnightly specific. Then when you start collecting the data, you can convert it into histograms, you can convert it into Pareto analysis. Pareto analysis is basically making your problems in the descending order and taking up the problem which is giving you maximum pain. Using this Pareto analysis, you will start improving, and you will hit the nail where it is bothering your customer, right? So this is what you do. Then there is a Six Sigma quality tool also, which talks about eliminating defects in the products and the processes and coming into a lean model. It basically works on a DIMAC theory, where you say you define your problem, you measure your problem, you analyze, you improve, and you control. And then you take a new project, you define, and this vicious circle continues going on. So the journey started in 2000, as I told you, and in 2004, nutrition assessment came in Delhi because NABH accreditation expected nutrition assessment. Before 2004, I know in Delhi, none of the hospitals were documenting nutrition assessment. So nutrition assessment was not measured. A dietitian was doing an assessment. A dietitian was doing her way, B was doing her way. So nutrition assessment journey started in 2004, and until 2015 we realized that we are doing 98% of the average of a 98% of the nutrition assessment documentation was happening in our hospital because the process has become robust. The patient experience were hovering between 85 to 86%. We started measuring reassessment also. So it is, and documenting the reassessment. And when we started capturing, you saw the reassessment numbers were less. We started capturing the clinical feedbacks, and clinical feedbacks were also 95%. Sometimes it had dropped down, etc., etc. So we started tracking, we started finding out the reasons. And when we started doing this, the awards started coming across. Then came the digitization aspect in healthcare. So in 2014-15, a lot of digitization in healthcare happened in allied medical sciences. And when this started happening, we saw the scores were dropping. Nutrition assessment did not remain the same. From 98%, it fell down to 58% because digitization was capturing the real time. In a manual system, you can write whatever time you desire. The auditors will find out things later. But with digitization coming in, the things were being tracked genuinely at the real time. And this is when we started, you see the drop that happened, and then we started gaining back, and we achieved. And today, again, we are back to 96 and 97% when we started measuring using the digitization. So we know food service partners so this was a project that we took with management, wanted us to take because managers were driving to get patient satisfaction improvement, because patient satisfaction was stagnant at 85%, and management brought in a third party patient satisfaction, which was when the patient was discharged back at his home comfort, there was a call which was going to the patient, and patient was giving you the feedback. And when the feedbacks were coming at his home comfort, the real picture started coming in. From 85% in patient food satisfaction, it dropped down to 45% to 38%. It was that bad, where the management was not happy, and they were saying that you really need to do something. So F&B and the nutrition department jointly came in and started looking into it. So we analyzed the cost, we analyzed the satisfaction, and PAN-MAX level, Max Healthcare Vaishali was 51%. We started doing the SWOT scores, we started doing the nutrition grammages, everything was started documented on the Six Sigma model. And the aim of the problem was that we optimize cost, increase patient satisfaction, improve infection scores, make the clinical specific approach, and do digitization in nutrition assessment. So we followed the tool of plan, do, act, and check, formed a core group, defined the project charter, started measuring our problems through the tools. This was one tool that was developed basic on the cause-bone effect. We started analyzing the data of the patients that was there, and a lot of analysis had gone. We did analysis on cost, we did analysis on waste management, and solutions started coming in because the core team was brainstorming, core team was aligned, individual specific quality indicators were assigned, technology was used in place, and process mapping, etc., started happening. We had team approach, we had leadership approach, and we started getting the process solutions, and the technology helped. The diet module started, the patient handout started, we started having a pantry checklist. So there were a lot of tools which were developed, and technology also started bringing and reducing the service error, reducing the billing errors, efficiency of the dietitian over the manual work, the diet card work, the lean model started. The dietitians were happy. They were able to spend a little more time at the bedside rather than working and filling the papers, etc. So, and the solutions started coming on a daily basis. Tracking of individual performance started. Trainings were there. Cross-departmental trainings were there. We started tracking. We started celebrating, and the gaps started closing. And when we started the controls from 51% to uh, to 76% was the first jump that Vishali had seen, and it had shown a growth of 50% in the department performance and was best in the PanMax network. A department which was last in the PanMax network started coming first, and for consistent good 3 years using these tools, reducing cost, improving the clinical outcomes, everything. So the awards started coming in, not only to the department head, but to everybody in the department, and things were improving, and the department bagged a Service Excellence Award for being #1 PanMax in healthcare. We had learned about few speed breakers. So from 51 to 76%, which was not satisfying, because in the manual process we were at 86%. So we wanted to at least be there and achieve there. So our journey continued. We developed more of the HIS trackers. We developed the subjective global assessments on the real time, and analysis were they're available to the doctors on the technology. The meal planning converted into technology. Everything was in technology. All the tickets, everything that I'm scrolling down was on technology. And the nice patient diet census was created, where the dietitian, the diet card had gone, and this census took that place. So the dietitian work had increased. So when she was moving into the patient room, she knew what is the diet of the patient, whether the patient is on a food and drug interaction, what is the dietary habit. So once she has filled it, so it's a complete handout that a dietitian enters into the room, and she knows everything, and she can talk to the patient. She can have a look at the biochemical parameters at a glance, and she can talk more to the patient and spend a little more time clinically at the room. So patient satisfaction overall, she could explain about the do's and don'ts, why the sugars are going up high, etc., started improving. And then we started doing a assessment real time, as I told you. So this is one of the quality indicator coming directly from our HIS, which is talking about that. So in emergency cases, we do not do the assessment. So if you see the number of differences within 11 hours, 10 hours, 19 hours. So this started improving, and this is where we started tracking the diet discharge consult. What is she writing, etc. Everything was being tracked. A lot of patient education material was made. A lot of awareness campaigns were done. We did a process on enteral nutrition also, where we find out the gaps, where we did the documentation audit, where we found that what happens to the liquid diet at the bedside, there is a lot of misses that happen. The feeds were kept open at the bedside. The nursing was not giving full feed to the patient. There were 2 feeds, kept at the same hour. So missing of the feed because of procedure, intake output chart was not being filled. So a lot of gaps at the nursing end also happened. And when we did this audit, it brought the doctor with us, and the doctor joined our hands, and hence the nursing started improving. The doctors also pointed out about a good nutrition note, which is what the dietitian started doing, writing and explaining everything in the file, doing the immunity status check, doing the nutrition status assessment along with the doctor. And when the doctor was not on round, but when he used to come on round and see this, he started feeling happy. The nutrition fluid balance sheets were started making, calorie for critical patient, not for all, calorie intake records started filling in. For FNB, we started showing how to prepare the feed. Signages were made. And in revenues, IPD, OPD revenues also started increasing. So when all of this started increasing, we did not stop here. We evaluated, we further brainstormed, we further checked, and we further did SWOT analysis. We did the SIPOC, we did brainstorming, we did a project selection matrix, and which got us Max Excellence Award, which was not only the Max Healthcare Award, but the entire Max Group Award, which was a Green Belt Six Sigma Award, which was backed by a department. And consistently for 3 years, using these tools, the department kept on performing. And now that I am not into IPD care anymore, I am on my own doing a consultancy to Max Healthcare and various other organizations. Basis my consultancy, one of the organization has done effectiveness of hospital-based multidisciplinary weight management program. So they first analyze the program, and then they check the effectiveness of nutrition counseling in the weight reducing diet, and they started publishing. So this is how the journey of quality can get into improvement in nutrition care process. If you start documenting, if you start analyzing your work, and if you plan, do, check, and act, definitely this is where the current stage we had gone, and this is what the desire is, that we reach to the future state. This is another way of using a quality indicator, talking about your processes. So in the last, I would like to say documentation is the key. We need to follow PDCA cycle, and with quality, continuous improvement is important. And if we are not measuring quality, it is of no use. So whatever quality indicator you do, you need to put some measures. This can also convert into research work in the dietetics field. And when it comes to across India, the doctor-dietitian relationship continues to increase, and the credibility of the dietitian increases. Thank you. I may request you to ask questions.
Thank you so much, Charu. It was an excellent presentation, and you have been shared very valuable information. You given us a view, a hospital view, and how the various quality improvement measures has been going on. There are lots of messages in the chat box congratulating you, your journey, and the effort and work, the extensive work you are doing in this area. Congratulations from all of us. So now the session is open for.
Thank you, Veenu ma'am. You have been my teacher, and when a thumbs up comes from Veenu ma'am, my day is made. Thank you so much, ma'am. I see my teachers being there, and when teachers give you appreciation, Santosh and Pasi ma'am is there, Veenu ma'am is there, I'm able to see them, Alka ma'am is there. And when you see thumbs up coming from the stalwarts, from your teachers, from your guides, yes, you have done justice. Whatever you have taught us, ma'am, we are able to perform, we are able to do. Sorry, I actually interrupted.
No, it's not interruption. It is great to have you with us, Charu. And we have seen the lot of effort you have been putting in to, the quality indicators to improve your nutrition care process. So now the session is open for taking up queries. Now, can I request Poonam to read the question from the chat box if there is any question from the participants?
Sure, Anjana ma'am.
Or you can unmute and ask the question. Participant can
Sure.
unmute and Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thanks, Sharu ma'am, for your elaborative as well as informative presentation. Now, session is open for the questions. If anyone want ask question directly to the Charu ma'am, please unmute yourself and ask. Anyone want to ask any question? Please unmute yourself.
Or you can write it in the chat box.
Can I ask, Charu, where are you applying all this now that you are not directly involved with any hospital? How are you using all what you have developed over this time?
So, ma'am, the next level of development is technology, where in India, still what is happening is when it comes to nutrition, somewhere or the other, the expectation towards dietitian is on food service management. We can't say that it is completely gone. But with the inclusion of technology, with menus being in place, where you don't need a dietitian to spend time on that food service management, I am trying to work on an app which healthcare systems can now use, and where the role of the dietitian becomes completely referral based. So that is what the journey is. That is where what I'm working at one aspect. The second aspect is the OPD aspect, ma'am. So there's a lot of work that has gone on in the IPD side, but OPD aspect also needs to be developed, because patients generally do not turn up to the dietitians for a regular follow-up unless and until it is a weight management thing. So the work is going on in the OPD aspect. So these tools now I'm including and improvising in technology and in the OPD aspects. And IPD, I'm really happy. I have trained 2 dietitians and the legacy that they are maintaining. So which is talking about the process being robust, because they are following the same processes and the performance of the department is remaining the same. So it is not a person specific thing that is what is proven, but it is a complete process which is continuously improving and improving.
Fantastic. Great work, Charu.
Any other question?
Yes, one question from Kalpana Yadav.
Yeah.
In this COVID situation, how challenging this nutritional care process has become, and what new things have been incorporated?
Yeah, so definitely in the COVID era, the dietitian is not able to go and meet the patient and do a lot of assessment with physically. So there are certain hospitals where the dietitian has started wearing a PPE and started going. Yes, there was a dip down in the nutrition assessments in COVID era, because you are not seeing the patient physically. But yes, now this process has again started, where the dietitian is wearing the PPE and reaching out to the critical patient and helping us document all these things. But in COVID eras, the work did not stop. The telephonic conversation, talking to the attendant, so physical interview, the tele interview took in more position. So WhatsApp calling, etc., started taking in more. So we were sometimes talking to the patient telephonically and asking them, when it was a renal patient, to show their feet. We could see and press the feet themselves to see whether there was edema, and talking about anorexia, etc. So during the morning hours, when the work was over, the dietitians were taking out time in the afternoon and doing their work, doing a lot of telecommunication, and to critical patients, not to all, doing video consultation, so that the work didn't stop. Yes, there was a dip in the beginning because we were all getting accustomed to what is happening, how to do. There was care, there was worry amongst all, but now everything is settled and we are back. And to critical care patients, dietitians are wearing PPE and becoming the front warriors and going and seeing the patients. And yes,
Thank
the
you.
OPDs, yeah.
Any question?
Participants, please do not leave the meet. We will be posting feedback form link in the chat box after the vote of thanks. So you can get the e-certificate directly. So please do not leave the meet.
Charu, I have a question. Yeah. Yeah. Can you just elaborate little bit on the information that is available in census? Because I think we have many student participants, so it will be
Okay.
great for them.
Okay, so I will definitely.
Charu, just a moment. My question is exactly similar to the one that is just posed, and thank you so much for the details that you've given us on the nutrition care process. How much of this information, can you have key takeaways for the students? And how much of this information should the students be given before they land up for their internship? Which is also
So I have understood the one part of your question. Your first part is what information should be given to the students when they land up for internship. What was the second part of your question?
Yeah, key takeaways for the students.
What key
Takeaways from today's talk? What are
I'm
the
not
key
able
takeaway points and how
I'm
much
not
should they know before internship?
Pritima,
I'm
you
not
can-
able to understand.
Yeah, you can write your question in the chat box. Can I request you to write in the chat box?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, because
So I will answer. Yeah, I will answer the first part of your question. Yes, when the interns land up to the hospital, they are absolutely new. So it's basically a theory part. This is what I had also felt when I did my graduation and post graduation and landed up into healthcare. It was a total different world. But in MSc, what happens is we are sent to the hospital for an internship program where the students learn and where they see how the therapeutics is converted into the practical knowledge. So when it comes, the students should be given the awareness on enteral nutrition. That is very, very important because these days enteral nutrition commercial formulas are in practice, and in our theory we generally talk about blenderized formulas. We don't tell them what products are available, so sensitization of that is what I feel is more important. And nowadays, because there are a lot of apps available, so they should have an idea of in a food service management, how does the food service management in healthcare work. It has evolved. What we read in our college and what is happening today, there is definitely an evolution that has happened. So they should be talked about HIS, they should be talking about telemedicine practices. So this should definitely, according to me, take a place in their food service management or in their nutrition plan. When it comes to a nutrition census, so what does a dietitian require? So when you meet a patient, you need to have a diet recall of the patient. You need to know the diet habit of the patient. You need to do a nutrition assessment of a patient. Then you need to have a reminder for yourself that when the reassessment is due. Because when we started tracking reassessment, we found the dietitian were willing to do the nutrition reassessment, but they were forgetting. Like how one dietitian is having around about 50 patients. So how will you know which patient needs to do a reassessment? Because scrolling through the file for 50 patients was getting tougher for the dietitian. So technology helped us. The sensors gave us the reminder. So then also food and drug interactions were getting missed. The calorie charting, you need to do calorie charting for few patients. You don't do calorie charting for all patients because 50% of the patient in IPD do not require calorie charting, and the other are on liquid diet because another 15% is on liquid diet because of a procedure, and there are 5% of the people who are NPO because of the surgery. So ultimately, it's only the 20% of these patients who are critically ill, who are malnourished, you need to really focus. And out of this 20%, it's 10%. This is the data that we collected of our hospital. It is the 10% where you need to take care of the high-risk malnourished patients where the calorie charting actively needs to be done. So when we asked the dietitians to do the calorie charting, the first response was no, they don't want to do it. Everybody was talking on paperwork. But then gradually when we started collecting the data and we said that only for 10% you need to do it, then the answers from no to yes started coming in. Sometimes collecting data helps within your team also. So when an intern comes up to the hospital, she should be aware that technology is in use and she should have an idea of the technology, which nowadays girls are using a lot of technologies, are using apps, etc. already. Yeah. So any other question, Preeti, that you have?
Thank you, Charu ma'am. Next question from queries from Prachi ma'am. She wants to know elaboration on the information available on the census.
Okay, so I did elaborated the census once again. Do you want me to talk again on the census?
No, I think you have already explained. Thank you.
And what happened? Yeah. So what happens? So this nutrition census becomes a history of the patient, right? So the dietitian walks in, walks out, and what we also found out a gap that this census, when is available to the doctor also knows what is happening, and similarly the kitchen staff is also aware. The kitchen staff is sitting down, not meeting patient more frequently the way dietitian is meeting. So it started bridging the gap, the errors, etc. And ultimately the food that reached the patient started eating it. And when patient eats what you send, definitely nutrition care program process improves.
Thanks, ma'am. The last question from Swati, Dr. Swati. How is remote nutrition assessment taking place in these times? Any specific screening tools that are being used?
So see, when it comes to, as I told you, initially we had a dip in the nutrition assessment tools when in these times, because dietitians were not meeting. So we were just talking on the phone and doing the BMI parameters, but we were not able to do the SGS, but we were able to do the MUST, etc. And there was a dip. There were some episodes where screening tools were not being even done. But now that the patients are who are critically ill, as I told you already before, teleconferencing is happening with these patients. So if there is a renal patient, and with CPRS being with us, all the biochemical parameters of the patient is at a click of your button. So you will see, for if a COVID patient, where is his D-dimers, what is his chest X-ray showing, what is the CT scan showing, whether the immune PLCs are high, what are the WBCs count. So everything is in place, available in CPRS, and the dietitian is able to see the immune marker. It gives her an idea what the condition of the patient is. It talks about the parameters, and then with experience and expertise, you know what questions to pose to these patients when you are doing clinical. So we made a tool for renal patient that when telemedicine would happen, so like we made meeting the patient for the first time, we also made a tool that what all questions the dietitian would be posing to these patients, like whether what all will you be checking in renal cases with albumin levels low, mandatory you will ask the patient to show your feet. When it comes to cirrhosis patient or liver disease patient, you will ask the patient to show the tummy. So all those things were trained to the dietitians, and with practice the dietitians get to know, and with telemedicine and this we are trying to assess, and in the notes we are definitely saying the assessment is done virtually, and when the dietitian feels that she needs to physically go and see this patient, she wears the PPE kit and goes and even sees the patient in the ward, which is few, which is not on a regular basis, but yes, it has started coming up again. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Charu ma'am, for your nice presentation.
There is one more question. Manisha
Okay.
ma'am is asking, any
Yeah.
trust areas in research you suggest for MSc students?
Absolutely. If you see the researches which are done abroad on the complete food service management and malnutrition which has been done. This is something that should be done across Indian hospitals. How the dietitians are spending time, where the dietitians are spending time. So if you develop this quality process, I am planning to write an article on this, because there are lots of articles available abroad. There are a lot of studies on this available abroad, which helps in improving. When I started this journey, and when I was presenting for my Greens Belt Award, I could not find any Indian study so that I could correlate. It was all international studies. So if we start doing this in India also, definitely the role of the dietitian would improve and the clinical outcomes will definitely improve. So that's where the students should also look into these aspects, because ultimately in colleges we are talked about diet variety being the diet diversity. We are talked about the cultural, to know about the cultural background, etc. So my common statement to the dietitians is that when you are providing a food to a patient and the patient is not eating that food, whatever may be the reason, all whatever you have prescribed is going into drain. So whatever you are prescribing should actually go down the patient's gut. That is very, very important. And if it is not going down at the gut, you really need to think what is happening, whether it is the F&B measure, whether it is the dietitian measure, whether the dietitian is taking control, whether the dietitian is also taking the onus or no. Sometimes dietitians also say, this is not my job, this is the job of an F&B. But I train the dietitians telling them, whatever you are prescribing, and if the patient is not eating, it is your job, because your prescription is not getting honored. So if you need to get your prescription honored, you need to deep dive, you need to do researches, and you need to start documenting, analyzing, and measuring.
Thank you, Shadu ma'am, for your nice presentation. And thank you, participant, for your patience.
Yeah. Thank you, Poonam. Now, can I request Ms. Prachi to extend vote of thanks? Ms. Prachi, over to Prachi.
Yeah, sure. I must congratulate Charu for excellent presentation. It was very informative session. Thank you so much. And even with so much of interruption, I think it ended on a very happy note. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
So good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Department of Food and Nutrition, I would like to thank all the participants and all the people who were directly or indirectly involved in this webinar. My special thanks to our director, Dr. Anupa Sidhu, for supporting us and motivating us to carry this webinar. Special thanks to our head, Dr. Manisha Sabharwal, for her constant support. And thanks to all the participants for making this event a success, because without this event would not have been possible. Thank you so much, one and all. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Ms. Charu. It was absolutely inspiring for students. And thank you for giving so much time. Thank you again.
Thank you, and I regret the technical glitches that happened.
Not at all. It was worth it. Not at all.
So feedback form link has been posted in the chat box. All of you, please fill the feedback form to get e-certificate. So again, I would like to thank Charu for such an excellent presentation, and I would like to thank my committee members, organizing committee, the head, Dr. Manisha Sabharwal, the director of the Lady Win College, Dr. Sidhu, and all the participants for their patience and bearing with us for all the technical glitches. So please all of you, please fill the feedback form. It is posted in the chat box. So with these warm words, I would like to end the meeting. Thank you so much, everyone, and stay safe. Bye-bye. Thanks, one and all.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.